Michael, when we first started working with you in Safaricom, there were very few women in the corporate world. You entrusted us with telling your story, but you also had lots of senior women at Safaricom, and you're very good at realizing talent early and growing specifically women in very senior roles. And that was quite unusual at that time. What was your sort of basis, or what was your drive to ensure that there were more women in senior levels in Safaricom?
Okay, so you talked about my honesty, so maybe I'll be honest with you. I never deliberately hired women or men for that matter. I hired the best talent, and I didn't discriminate against one or the other. It just so happened that we hired women that were talented, and we took a chance. And I'm a great believer that you hire people that could be as good as you, and you just let them grow. You hire them and you see them grow. Sometimes you make a mistake, sometimes you don't. But I'm very proud of the fact that if you look at Safaricom today, still today, it's at least, if not more, 50 or 60% women in Safaricom, even at the top team. It wasn't a deliberate attempt on my side. What I tried to do, what I failed, is hire people with disability. And I failed I wasn't very well. Maybe 1 or 2% of Safaricom is people with disability. But on the women's side, it was not a deliberate attempt. In fact, I think it just happened because I trust people. I trust people that you hire, and they'll be successful or they won't be successful, and you take a chance. And I think to date, it's been largely successful.
And I remember the other thing that we did together from a CSR point of view was the whole area around gender violence.
Yes.
And I know that was an area that you
yeah.
felt very, very committed to. Just tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, I think all the things that we did, one of the things that really touched me was children's homes, particularly one up in Nanyuki that you introduced us to, and then the gender violence unit that we sponsored together with a lady from America.
Yes, Mrs. Jordan.
Mrs. Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really touching, what happens there to girls and women that get abused. So, those things really touch my heart. And it really makes me, when I've said this before, but, I believe that we are meant to do something in our lives when we live on this earth. And, we can't all be missionaries or doctors that we can save people's lives. But as corporate people, we can do more, and we should do more. And this is to touch people's lives around you, no matter what. And if you can spend money on like a hospital like that looks after abused women, which nobody else wants to bother with, that's what you're meant to do, I think, in my opinion.
And I think some of the cases that we went to see together and everything were just absolutely awful. And I think that's some of the moments, my most special moments with you, are going to visit some of those cases, and both of us actually being unable to talk on the way back. Yeah. So I think that's been very much part of the Safaricom story. I think it's foundation that you laid, and I think Safaricom continue to do an amazing job with their foundation.
Yeah. There's just one other thing I want to mention, if it comes out at all. We have now funding in Pesa Academy.
That's right, Thika.
Up near Thika, and this is taking disadvantaged, smart kids and putting them in a very high quality school, and we choose, and it's a co-educational school. It's a boarding school. It's probably the nicest, best, biggest high school in Kenya. It's free for these kids, and it's 50% boys, 50% girls. And if you go to the school, this school is now in their second year, and you see these girls, some of them who come from areas where they get married at 13 or 12 or 13 years old, and you see the way these girls are blossoming.
Wow.
And the confidence in them, it just makes you want to cry that you can change it. And the reason why we did the M-Pesa Academy, you asked me about Africa earlier, the reason why I wanted to do the M-Pesa Academy, and this is Bob Collymore and myself joint idea, is we want to change the narrative of Kenya and of Africa. And you can start at the top. You must start at the bottom. So what we're doing is we're taking these kids and we're giving them a good education, but not just pure academic. But these are the future leaders of Kenya. Remember Tom Mboya, what Tom Mboya did after independence. We're doing that again. And every one of these kids will go to university.
And they'll have the self-confidence.
And they will come back and be leaders in Kenya, and hopefully they will change the narrative of Kenya from behaving with integrity, transparency, and that sort of thing.
And it's good citizenship.
Absolutely,
as well,
and it's just fantastic what we're doing there. Really fantastic.
Michael, let's just talk a little bit about the Lewa Marathon, because I know we went a few years Well, camping was is definitely not my thing, but you know,
Gina,
we did.
camping is something else. You have to see this lady in high heels, you know, in the bush.
But tell us a little bit about the marathon, because I know Lewa, I mean, after we started the marathon at Lewa, Lewa became very close to you, and the whole area of conservation is very dear to you. But tell us about
this is another fantastic thing that we took from a small idea, and of course Gina thought it was her idea, but I have to say this on camera. Many other people think it was their idea too. But nevertheless, we started this small marathon of running this marathon through Lewa Conservancy to promote the Lewa Conservancy and, you know, to encourage marathons. And it's a small marathon, but it's grown to 1,200 people, 1,200 or 1,300 people who run it. It's people who come from all over the world to run it. We raised a lot of money last year, or this year we raised $700,000.
Wow.
Incredible
That's
amount
incredible.
of money. And what it does is it just, you know, it brings people to Lewa to see conservation in action, and also all the endangered species. So it's really touched my heart, so much so that, you know, this is my second home now. Lewa is my second home.
And I remember, Michael, when you came back and you'd been very, very ill, and came back straight, almost from hospital, straight to Lewa. You were very weak, and yet you were there. I mean, you didn't take part, but you were there with us. And it was just a sense of, like, I couldn't believe that, you know, here was a man who was just the week before had come out of hospital. And it was a real lesson for me in being resilient and being strong and just showing up. And that was something that, the many lessons I've learned from you, Michael, very, very many, but that was definitely one of them.
Well, I was determined. I was in hospital, and the doctor said, first when I was diagnosed first, he said, you have a year, it'll take you a year of your life. I said, I don't have a year, you know, I have a few months maybe. Anyway, so I went through this process, and I was in the hospital and he wouldn't let me out the hospital because, you know, you have to stay. First, there's no Formula One coverage in hospital, and I'm a Formula One fan. And secondly, it was the Lewa Marathon. So I said, I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. I'll be well enough to go. And he let me go. I was not strong, of course.
No, you weren't.
But it was something to drive you to say, this is my goal, what I want to do. Go to the Lewa Marathon and watch Formula One.
I don't know if you remember when you told me how ill you were. We were sitting in Anyang Nyong's office, and he was Minister for Planning, and we were about to go in for a meeting, and of course he kept us waiting forever. But while we were waiting, you said, you know, Gina, I've got something to tell you. And you told me that you'd been diagnosed with cancer. And I couldn't, I mean, he was, you know, somebody that I saw every day, that I'd grown to love and grown to respect. And the thought that he was so ill just really destabilized me. And I really didn't think I was going to be able to carry on with that meeting. I had to step out and kind of dry my eyes and kind of come back and be strong and sort of say, okay, so Michael, what's the plan? So, you know, Michael and I have just had such an amazing journey together. I'm so grateful to have him in my life. And he has taught me just huge life lessons, corporate lessons, entrepreneurship lessons, but life lessons. So Michael, thank you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
I hope you've enjoyed this afternoon with Michael. It's been just such a pleasure for me to reconnect and share some of the stories of our time together at Safaricom. If you liked what you watched, please share it, please like it, please engage us. If you've got any questions, we'd be really happy to answer them. Thank you so much for giving us your time. My name is Gina Din-Kariuki, and you're watching Shaping African Conversations.
I am Michael Joseph, and you're watching Shaping African Conversations.